Hello, everybody. Welcome to the last, but certainly not least, day 3, session number 2 of the Grad School Success Summit. I'm Alante. I'm so happy to have you here as the creator and founder of the podcast Black in Grad School and the organizer of the Grad School Success Summit. This is the 5th year of the Grad School Success Summit, so I'm so happy that we are wrapping up yet another year of all this amazing content, all these amazing speakers, and building a community of folks who are going to be very successful in this next academic year. So today, as we are wrapping up our session, we have our last session and speaker from Miss Katelyn, aka the Curly Scientist. And a little bit about the Curly Scientist: it's a platform where students on all levels can find a multitude of resources to help them along their STEM journey. Choosing the right STEM program, securing employment, and everything in between may be new to you, but don't worry, Katelyn's got your back. So Katelyn, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule. Y'all, she is writing her dissertation right now, just like Alexis from our last session, spending time serving this community. We're so appreciative to have you here. And welcome to the Grad School Success Summit alumni speaker group. But I will hand it over to you, and can't wait to see all you have to share.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Alante, and welcome everyone. Let me go ahead and share my screen. Okay, let's see. Hold on. Okay, you all should see it. Am I right? I hope you can see my screen.
Let me see. Oh, I see it now. Yes.
Okay, good. So today we're just going to talk a little bit about staying organized in grad school. And on top of what Alante said, I am a PhD candidate. My degree program is at North Carolina A&T State University in Industrial and Systems Engineering. And to be a little bit more specific, my dissertation topic is on injury prediction for vehicle safety. So my business, like Alante said, is to address a lot of what minorities in STEM go through all stages of their degree programs and inside of their early stages of their careers. And for today, I really wanted to talk about organization as a grad student because you are more than just a student. It's very important for you to nail down just a proper way of planning and organizing, really, so you have the time for things that bring you joy. And what really prompted me to do this as a grad student and take it seriously is when my best friend was in medical school. When I started graduate school, she literally graduated from medical school. So I asked her, what was the one thing that you wish you knew? And she said that life moves on regardless of whether or not you're in school. So those birthday parties, people traveling, things happening in your family, like life is happening. And it's important that you also experience life happening and also balance your workload as a student. So just so we all are on the same page, how I define planning is determining how you do something before you actually start the activity, and organizing is the coordinating of events or putting things in an ordered way. And the benefits of planning and organizing as a student is it improves learning and memory. I can say honestly, when I was taking classes, I barely studied because of how I plan to organize my days. It saves time, increases productivity, reduces stress, and you'll be able to reach your goals. And in hindsight, especially as I was preparing this presentation, I have to admit, like, these benefits really hold true. And we'll get into some examples. So first and foremost, I'm going to provide just a framework for you all so you can create some sort of structure surrounding your schedules as a student. So you want to be able to build a sustainable routine based on some of the things that I'm going to present to you. So first and foremost, you want to print all schedules and calendars. I know as a grad student, a lot of people have that misconception that people are fresh out of undergrad, when in reality, a lot of students are a lot older. So even though I may be in my 30s, I'm not the oldest student, and the youngest student is definitely not someone right out of undergrad. So when I say print out all of your schedules, it's not just your schedule. If you are responsible for another person, you have a child, you're taking care of a loved one, and they have things that are pertinent, make sure you write those things down or print them out. Print out your academic calendar as well as the schedule that you have for your classes. And next, once you have everything printed out, just consolidate it into a single space. It can be either digital or physical. So I use a combination of both. So anytime I have a meeting or a class, it's also in like a Google Calendar or my Apple Calendar. So I receive the alert, but everything is also in my physical planner. So as I'm writing things down, I can also see physically like I have these things happening. And the last thing you want to do is you want to fill in the blanks. So when you have everything outlined in a calendar format or just day by day, you'll be able to see the blanks that you have in your schedule. And you can fill those in with other responsibilities or things that you want to do, such as take a nap, go to the gym, catch up on some research, watch TV, literally anything. You're not just confined to working on school stuff. So once we have your schedule outlined like this, you want to be able to frame your day. So my biggest piece of advice is decide on your start and end time. So start and end times can be when you wake up in the morning, when you wind down, so like 7 a.m., 7 p.m., when you're on campus, off campus, like 9 to 5. And if you have a child, like drop off, pick up, like I know I have to drop them off at the bus stop at this time, and I know I have to pick them up at the bus stop at this time. So you want to make sure you outline like what is your personal start and end times for the day. The goal here is to be able to find that happy medium. You want to be productive, but you also don't want to do too much. For instance, you want to be able to start projects and assignments, but being able to step away from them without feeling that guilt of like, I need to finish this, or I just feel like I have to, like you'll feel the urge to want to finish things, but knowing that you've made a dent in your work and you can pick it up and continue the next day. And there are immediate benefits. So like I said before, academically, you won't necessarily have to study as hard because you're constantly looking at the material, and you'll have a better handle on your school life balance because you're not just focusing on school in your day. You have other things that are filling in the gaps. So let's take a look at an example. I will say what you guys are seeing on my screen is actually what my schedule was before COVID. So for reference, I started at A&T 2017. I got my master's and graduated in 2019. So I started my PhD program in 2019 and had one semester in person. And then the next semester was half and half. So this is the semester before COVID semesters. And of course, it looks totally different now since I'm 100% virtual. But I decided personally that my start and end times were going to be 5 a.m. to 6 p.m. And the reason is because at 5 a.m., I was at the gym. 9 a.m., as you can see, I had a supply chain class Tuesday, Thursday. I filled in a gap here between 10 a.m. and 1 p.m. Monday through Thursday with meetings, research, homework, whatever was happening, that was the blanks that I filled in. Monday and Wednesday, you see I have a multivariate class. And again, just filling in those blanks with meetings, homework, research. And same for like my production class, seminar. As you can see, like I filled in the gaps with meetings, homework, research. But if you see, there's some places where there's gaps still available. I will say that my classes were 2 hours, so I didn't want to overlap, number one. And I kept the time between class to really like, I don't say not do anything, but even though my only class on Tuesday was supply chain, I was still on campus all day until it says go home. Same with 6 p.m. I would still be on campus at 10 to get things done, and then I would go home at 6. The meetings, homework, research thing was really just the productive parts that worked for me as far as filling in the blanks. But to be 100% honest, my lab was set up like a living room. Like my lab, my PI, my primary investigator, he was cool. He let us bring in like rugs, lamps. We had cool chairs. When I tell you between classes, like some of us would be taking a nap, we'll be doing research. We didn't have like the fluorescent lighting. We had like our own little lamps. Like it was a very comfortable atmosphere. So we were all doing different things. So in between those gaps, I was like, watching TV, eating lunch, catching up on shows while I was like taking some meetings, going back and forth, like getting some things done, going to office hours. So because those were really my only responsibilities, the gaps I decided to fill in more so between 5 a.m. and 6 p.m. were school related. Because at 5 or 6, when I went home, I did things like my hobbies. I'm a big gamer. I have a dog, so making sure I take care of my dog. Um, Volunteering, having the ability to do that in the community in North Carolina, and just being able to converse and talk to my friends, my family, that time. So I had a hard stop at those times that you see on my schedule. Whereas for you, if you're someone who knows like my schedule may not have these hard start and stop times because of my other responsibilities, that's totally fine. But I definitely want to make sure that you understand that your gaps don't have to look anything like what I'm presenting to you at all. But you want to make sure that you do handle those responsibilities for school. And if you have other responsibilities for your personal life, do those. But the 5 p.m., 6 p.m. stop time worked for me because of all the things that I mentioned. Like I like to do a lot of different things. And I knew that when I went home from school, that's all I wanted to do was be home. Like I think you all seen the meme where it's like I'm rushing home to just be home. That was me when I left campus because I'm like, I'm tired. I know that I need to wind down, able to watch my shows, eat some dinner, that whole bit, and not really think about school. So just as a reminder, I will say that the long days and nights of grad school are inevitable. However, with proper planning, they occur less frequently. I can proudly say I have never pulled an all-nighter, even as an undergrad student, even when I was studying for my qualifying exams, preliminary exams. I have never pulled an all-nighter because I know that's not the type of person that I am. So because I was able to plan properly, I didn't have to do that at all. The only time that I will be up a little bit later is when I have to meet conference abstract submissions or different deadlines outside of school things. But just so you know that those may be inevitable. How detailed your schedule needs to be is totally up to you. If you're someone that just needs a to-do list and like set times for classes and meetings where you're required to be there, that's fine. And you can just write down notes, like I said, of a to-do list. Or if you're someone that needs like super structure, because I do have a daily planner where it's like, I think 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And you write off blocks of between this time, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. That's fine as well. Just know the type of detail that you need so you can just be as successful as possible when it comes to planning out your day. And don't be afraid of the trial and error. At first, coming up with a feasible and sustainable schedule is hard, especially if you haven't had a set routine before, because grad school is totally not like undergrad. Those 3 classes will take you out. Like, I'm not saying that to scare you, but it's a lot of work that goes into them, which is why a full course load is usually just 3 classes. So you don't be afraid to try different things, maybe waking up a little bit earlier on some days, giving yourself some time just to like mosey around. That's why I wake up so early, is because I move slow. And just trying out new things that will work for you to have a sustainable routine. Now let's talk a little bit about physical organization. So when we think about physical organization, I need everybody to go back to elementary school when you have actual notebooks, binders, folders, and things like that. Being as organized as possible with physical items in grad school is very important because, for example, my qualifying exam is open book, open note because of how hard it was. I had to be as organized as possible with all of those notes since we couldn't have a laptop. So things like that may occur for you, but everybody's program, master's and PhD, is totally different. But when it comes to physical organization overall, some of the things that you need to store somewhere safe in like an accordion file are things like your acceptance letters, your funding offers. If you're being offered a stipend, have that printed out. Lab requirements, once you solidify your lab, get in writing some of the required days, times, hours printed out. So you have it in writing. And policy changes, something that my school is currently going through with grad students. We have a lot of different communication regarding what it takes to graduate. And other important documents. So if you are able to have an insurance policy, printing that information out for yourself, like who to call. If there's something going on, maybe things are switching up in your department and it's kind of weird. You may want to print out those emails, like the switching of a chairperson, or if your PI is switching schools, understand those things. But you also, what's not listed here is if you're someone that likes to take physical notes, because sometimes I do, you want to know how your professor really communicates those things. So a lot of times people will have like Canvas or Blackboard. You want to know if they're going to upload those notes. I would take digital notes on my, I have a Surface laptop, so I'll take it on my Surface laptop, so it's all stored digitally, but sometimes they would hand out the notes in class, so that in class I'll write the notes down and just making sure those are organized for your well-being, so you're not scrambling around looking for things. There, you know exactly where they are, and so you can help other students as well. When you have your things organized and in order, like I keep saying, and I will always tell people, you will study less the more organized you are, and of course, paying attention in class. So you want to make sure that you're able to help your classmates, because when you start grad school, it's a very tight knit group of you. Usually, you and your cohort really bond and just want to help each other out, like I said. So you want to have all of those things put together physically, but going to switch gears a little bit into digital organization, which is really big. Since we entered the COVID space, a lot of professors are now 100% digital. Same with degree programs, they're 100% virtual. Like my degree program now has the digital option, so you can just get your PhD in industrial engineering from a distance. So you want to make sure you develop a solid system for all of your notes and files. You want to make sure that everything has its own folder. Within that folder, things are organized by the weeks or the lectures. And inside, you have like all the PowerPoints, assignments, notes, all of that stuff. And you also want to make sure that you have something to where it's like you're able to save these items outside of your system. So, for instance, if you're going into a PhD program or even a master's program, a lot of times your funding will give you like a laptop. Just double check and ask them for a separate hard drive. Just ask, hey, can I have a 1 TB external hard drive so I can store things, and keep backing that up frequently, because things do happen, unfortunately. And even though being online is something that is not new to us, a lot of my classmates unfortunately have lost a lot of documents on their hard drive computers. So just make sure that you always have a fail-safe backup. The other thing with digital organization is you want to make sure that you follow some rules and guidelines. Not every professor is just all like, hey, go ahead and upload this at this time. I've had most of my professors say, I need it in this format. So make sure before submitting assignments, you're double checking the format that's given to you. When it comes to saving files, so you don't lose any points for any reason. And again, with being digital, it also can include software. I know for my program, I had a lot of different software that I had to download outside of what I use for my research. So you may want to, again, depending on your program, if a laptop is included, you may want to weigh some options of as far as what types of laptops to purchase or request. And if you are the person that's going to have to purchase your laptop, there are a lot of options that are available to you, so you're not breaking the bank, because trust me, I totally understand. So just reminders, like I said, separate notebooks for separate classes, and backing up your hard drive. And again, constantly checking your class for updates on Canvas and Blackboard. I'm not sure. It's been so long since I've logged into Blackboard, but I do remember that you can set certain alerts. Just make sure the alerts that you set are relevant to things that you want to see, like if due dates are changing, tests and quizzes that they may have online. Just you want to make sure that you know and you're up to date on what's going on. Also, always just keep the syllabus digitally so you can see like digital office hours or in-person office hours that your professors have. You want to keep just like maybe something where it's like some notes every time you're in their office, and add those to whatever folder or however you decide to do your organization piece for your schools, for your classes. So, you know, like during this time, during this session, I had this conversation with this professor regarding this, that, and the third. So you have something to where everything's just written down and in writing. And you do, of course, when it comes to organization, you just want to make sure that whatever you do works for you. What I presented to you all is just something that I've noticed has worked for me over the years. And as you progress through your program, regardless, master's, PhD, a lot of this stuff can easily carry over into the industry. So for example, right now I'm an intern at Ford. Shockingly, and it's funny because I shouldn't be shocked, but I am shocked. A lot of the things that I did learn in my PhD program are things that I do have to apply on the job. So having my notes just in handy, knowing exactly what class I learned it in, and just being able to sift through the lectures on my computer to get that backup assistance has been very helpful. So you don't just want to organize it just for now. You always want to look at it as organizing for the future too. And like I said before, helping out your classmates when it comes to organization. Study groups are a big thing in grad school because a lot of our classes, though we have assignments, they're heavily discussion based. So you'll probably have the same discussion carrying it over into your little study group, and just the exchanging of knowledge and notes. It comes in handy when you're organized. So you know, like, okay, this is what was said, maybe on this slide, all that stuff. So let me double check because I am actually on my school computer. So let's see. So as you can see, I have something on I think you guys can see, I hope y'all can see what I'm sharing. Let's see.
We can see it.
Perfect. So this is literally everything to deal with all of the classes that I've taken during my PhD program. So when it comes to organization, this is exactly what I mean. It's just a system that's easy for me. You see the status right here? That is just, it's uploading onto my school's OneDrive. That has been very helpful, especially when I need just to back up something in a pinch. And I can share things with my advisors and my committee members immediately. So on the leftmost side with quick access, I have papers, abstract submissions, the dissertation document, posters and presentations, and like some notes that I have for my preliminary exam. So let's get into this. Well, I'm going to give you guys two examples from my actual notes. So the class I'm going to show you first is a class where I took digital notes more so, and then I'll show you what a class looks like digitally that I took more written notes. So this is engineering cost control. And this one was all over the place. I'm not even gonna lie, because I took a lot of notes, I think directly on the PowerPoints. And I'm not gonna lie, I think this is one that got messed up when I started redoing a lot of the files. So let me do a more recent class. So this one. So this is more organized because this is a class that I had a lot of software-based learning. And as you can see, like applied data science, in-class lectures and notes, things like that really helped me. I really didn't have too much going on for that. And service sector engineering, same thing. Assignments and discussions, like everything was separated. So it was very easy for me to get to. But I'm trying to find, because some of these classes I did do what I showed you all, what you should do. But yeah, you want to do something that's very easy for you to navigate through the system. So you're turning in assignments, that whole bit, without having to scroll through so much. And as you can see, I have things for admissions. So I have my contract for my fellowship, I have my exam results, as well as my admission confirmation and offer letters that I receive. So I see those if anything changes or I get questioned for some reason. But let me see. And for this class, this was a 100% online class where I just labeled everything by the week's title and then had different assignments everywhere. So digitally, just make sure that you have something in place for you. And also, as you see on this side, I do have other things like my abstract submissions. I just have them outside and I label them the same. You can see ISB, ASB, that was the conference's name. And then same for SPEC, that is the Southern Biomedical Engineering Conference. So I kind of name them the same. So I just see them out front. I don't have separate folders for them per se. And with my dissertation document, you can see one thing that I will always recommend to you all when you get to your thesis writing and dissertation writing is just rename it with the edit date where you're restarting after you're receiving edits. So the 22nd of July was the last set of edits that I received, and that is the document that I'm working from. So you just want to make systems that make sense to you. And I also on this, I have my CVs, everything else just labeled out here. That's easy to get to for just my personal benefit. And so I leave some time for questions for you all. So thank you all so much just for listening in. I know that was a pretty quick session. I definitely want to leave room for the questions I see in the chat. But on my website, there are different things that can help you when it comes to career development, organization. I do have a digital planner available, as well as an application tracker. So if you're someone that's in the boat of applying to graduate school, that comes in handy. And I will drop a link in the chat for you so you all can be added to the email list. I am going to have just some announcements and other things coming out here soon just to help everyone out on their STEM journey. So let's see.
Yes. Oh my gosh, y'all. React. This was amazing. Like, Katelyn, the fact that you showed your folders, I could never. Never. I'm over here impressed, inspired, motivated by this organization session. Thank you so much. I hope you see there's a couple of thank yous in here, some reactions. Let's get to the questions because I mean, even I have questions, this was like I have questions. Okay, the first question is, how did you adjust your routine when assignments were a little heavier, say midterms, finals, for example? Did you keep your wake up time the same, or were you consistent even when you set up a little bit later?
So like I said, when I was preparing this and I was talking about organization, I will be 100% real with y'all. I've always been this organized when it came to school stuff, just because I knew me. Like, I'm not gonna pull an all-nighter. I've never pulled an all-nighter in undergrad. So when you're talking about heavier projects, oftentimes in grad school, you'll know what they are week 2. They'll be like, this is what's going on. This is what is expected for this project. It's due in November before you leave for Thanksgiving break. You'll know that. I know A&T starts on the 17th. You'll know that before Labor Day weekend. Like, they'll be real with you and honest, and they'll also keep giving you those reminders. So like, you'll probably, more than likely, especially in engineering, I can say that most of my projects were group work unless I opted to be by myself. So it's like, you and your group need to come up with those feasible schedules that work with you and stand firm on your times. My classmates, my cohort, they know for a fact, if they are to text me at 9:00 p.m., I am texting them back when I wake up at 5:00 a.m. I do not respond unless we are on that timeline, that deadline. So those are definitely the exceptions. But you want to try to make sure that you control the narrative on that so no one is dragging, because I will say age and mindset does play a huge factor when it comes to grad school. So I took 5 years off in between undergrad and grad school to figure out what I wanted to do. So in being solid and knowing like I'm here for X, Y, and Z, as opposed to the fresh out of undergrad student, they're like, okay, it's kind of like undergrad. No shade to y'all if that's you. You want to make sure that you shift your mindset as soon as possible, because grad school is not like that at all. And you're able to just have these open and honest conversations with your group. Like, I told them straight up, as soon as we get the assignment, as soon as we get this group together, listen, we need to work on this, and this times. We'll schedule in here. Let's meet here. Bam, bam, bam. Everybody's good. You won't have to necessarily stay up that late. The only time I literally stay, I'm like an old lady. The only time I stay up past my bedtime was when we're trying to like fix things or do some brief edits. But the hardest parts, like the mathematical parts of the projects, I was never staying up late to do those.
Love it, love it. Someone says, you provide a wealth of tips and ideas. I agree, so thank you. But do you have
Thank
any
you.
suggestions on how to break down those assignments, right? I know if say you
Mhm.
aren't a group work, how do you break that down throughout the semester so it doesn't become overwhelming?
Yeah, so what I did was, as soon as I got the assignment, so let's say it was like, because my supply chain assignments that I showed you on my schedule, they were probably the hardest assignments that I got that semester. Luckily, it was a morning class and I had nothing but time. So what I would do was, based on my schedule, as soon as she was like, hey, this is what we have going on, this is what I expect, after class, I would look at it, read it over a couple times, and just start jotting things down as far as like, okay, this is how you need to answer, all this other stuff. And because I was still on campus and her office hours kind of align with my schedule, I would make sure that any questions I had as I was just like going through the motions of what the assignment was, I went and asked those questions immediately. And when I got those cleared up, either with my professor and with my classmates, that's when I could gauge the start and stop parts of the assignment. So it could be maybe most of them are like multi-step. So like you got to answer the first question right to get the rest right. Or it's like different scenarios. So I would start with, of course, the easiest one, if it was different scenarios, and go from there. But just making sure you aren't leaving campus or you're not leaving the class without your questions answered. That's the easiest way to start breaking down the assignments to things where it's like, I can go home, knock this out in an hour. I'm at a decent stopping point. I can do the same tomorrow with the same assignment, maybe even finish it. So it's really, it's really just that. I mean, once you start getting into the groove of how assignments work in grad school, especially if you're someone fresh out of undergrad, it becomes a lot easier because I will say the main difference is when it comes to grad school, you're probably maybe one of 10 in a class as well. And when you compare that to undergrad, it's like it can range from like a classroom of 30 to a classroom of 200. So it's a different type of atmosphere and environment for sure, but you'll start getting into the groove of how to break your assignments up. So it's more, it's just not overwhelming for you.
I love this. I love this. Someone asked, is it possible to share the presentation? We typically have a recording, so you'll be able to see the slides in the recording. But if I'll talk to you, Katelyn, afterward.
Okay. Yeah.
And of course, you can put them on your website, and people can go get them there too.
Mhm.
Another person asks, what are your tips for students like myself who are preparing to organize for a graduate teaching position?
Okay. So I was a GTA. So that's a different layer of requirements for grad school. But if you already know who you're going to be a TA for, start having those conversations with them of their expectations because every professor is different. Like um the ones that I did it for really only needed me to grade papers. I didn't have to physically be in their class, whereas some may need you to show up physically to class and even teach a lecture. So you need to know what your expectations are as the GTA, but always remind them of the hours that you are supposed to work. So you only have, I believe it's 20 hours a week to be a GTA. It may be different at different universities, but that's what it was for me. And you need to stand firm on that time because sometimes they'll be like, oh, you cannot because you are a student first and a graduate teaching assistant second. And then when you start your research starts to come up above being a graduate assistant. So just make sure you have those conversations with them so you can just have that back and forth of, well, I'm not going to be able to make it to your class because I have class at this time. I'm able to come here, grade these papers, all that stuff, have them in by a certain day. Like just understanding what their requirements are up front can really help you. And when it comes to the organization part of it, make sure you slip it in somewhere, especially if it's just grading papers, to where it's not like taking up too much of your time. If you have like if the students had a test on Monday, you pick them up Monday before you leave campus, and it's required for you to turn the grades in before their next class, which is usually a Wednesday. just start grading as soon as you get those papers, like fit it in there to start halfway through, put it in Blackboard or Canvas, and then pick the rest of the class back up the next day. So
I love it. I totally, I honestly, I don't have much. Typically, I'm like adding my bit. I have nothing this session, y'all, because I wish I could sit here and I think I was this organized. I wasn't. I was just out here stumbling through it. So listen to Katelyn. Okay, next question. And we have quite a few, just so you know. But we have about another 15 minutes, so we should be okay.
yeah.
When I write a paper, I have multiple versions. I know you said you showed this, but let's just go over it again. Do you eventually delete the older versions? And do you go back to the folder to reorganize them? Do you maybe put like all the previous versions in their own folder?
I will. I definitely will. And the reason I don't delete them is because of something that my advisor said. They were like, at some point, something's going to get lost in the sauce. That's inevitable. Like, I'm going to lose something. You're going to lose something. Don't delete these items, please, because we were working on a paper together, and that's exactly what happened. I had submitted to him my next set of edits. And then instead of sending the edits to the edits back, I got like a version prior. So we're just going back and forth and I'm just confused and things are getting lost. So keeping those older versions is really to your benefit.
Yes, and see, this is the only place I can contribute. I also lost my dissertation like twice, y'all. Keep this hard drive connected to your computer at all times. I have a Mac, so I was able to go into Time Machine and like recapture it. But nothing is more stressful when you're at the end of your journey and you can't find the documents. So keep all the versions, of course, as you save them, but also remember that Time Machine is a great option for that for my Mac folks. Okay, another person, which I think a lot of us have, right? The struggle is I have notes in Notability, PDFs on my hard drive, papers in Google Drive. It's all over the place, right? So do you have any advice about consolidating everything into one space clean?
I actually do. So right now, because of my funding, I was able to get an Alienware computer. Since I code, I didn't want it, but they made me get it. Before I had a Surface laptop, not the Surface Pro. I had like the Surface laptop. So I took notes directly on the lecture slides. So when you are starting to do something like that, you want to make sure that first, like if you upload them into Google Drive, download the hard copy onto your hard drive to then sort into like the lectures of the specific class so it doesn't get lost in that way. If you're able to, especially if you're someone that's going to take notes, I assume like on an iPad or Android device or something like that, start doing that on the cloud too. So again, you're just not going back and forth with it. And and I will say digital note taking is hard, especially if the device isn't the device that you're going to work on normally. So just make sure that when you're putting it into the cloud, you're on your actual computer, you're downloading it immediately. So it's organized in that way. And just transferring that over to the Google Drive that you're using. So it's already also backed up somewhere.
Amazing. Oh my gosh. There's lots of messages and questions coming in. So we're gonna get through them. All right. Yeah, a lot of people, I dream of being disorganized. Same. Someone said, I don't know if you mentioned this, but have you always woken up at 5 a.m., right? Before, throughout being in college? And if not, what inspired the shift?
So in college, yes, not this early. I did wake up at 6 because as a STEM major, our first class is at 8 all the time. I never had the ability to have a late class. I don't know what that's like. I envied everybody that did. And I mosey. I go ridiculously slow in the morning. So the people that can wake up 30 minutes before class started, that wasn't me. I also have to eat breakfast. I don't know how people function without food in their system in the morning. So waking up early wasn't new to me. Waking up that early came from my job. So I worked in healthcare, and one of the responsibilities I had, because they found out I was really good at math, was balancing the checkbook of a doctor's practice. So like all the money that we received the day prior before the practice opened at 8. So I would actually wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning to get that done. And it would take about 2 to 3 hours. So waking up really early isn't something that's foreign to me. It was actually hard not to when I stopped working. So I was like, if I'm gonna be up early, I'm just gonna go to the gym. And that's how it all really started. So I still, even though I don't have classes now, I will still wake up early to go to the gym because it's just that routine, honestly. Like if I could wake up, I wish I could wake up later. Same on the week. I don't wake up that early on the weekends, but same, I wish I could sleep in on the weekends. I can't. So it's just something that my body over time, over a long period of time, has just gotten used to.
All right. So if you're not waking up at 5, y'all, it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah, you don't have to. Like you just you, but I know I go slow. So I wake up accordingly.
Do you have any writing, brainstorming, organization tips for those of us working on dissertation thesis proposals and trying to make our ideas make sense, right? In that
Okay.
phase.
So yes, actually I do. And it's very unconventional. I write how I talk first because I want to write how I would explain it to my family because they don't understand what I do, and that's okay. But writing how I talk has really been a helpful brainstorm session for me because I'm able to go in and fill in the blanks with the technical words and how you're supposed to write scientifically. But also, I think, let me see if I have it on here. I It may be on my Google Drive, but anytime I have like when I'm writing my chapters specifically, um, and I have the meetings with my advisors and we're going back and forth on this is what you need to include, all that stuff, like I'll write it down during the meeting, but then I'll have an expanded outline. So that's what I'm trying to find so I can show you all how I got to that. Um,
And then like how are you organizing it? Like those drafts.
so those drafts, honestly, that's why it may be hard for me to find because I will say like when I write a draft, I don't necessarily when I write an outline, I don't necessarily keep it. Um, I usually print it out, which is like I said, which is why it may be hard to find. Because I also I'm bad at this is the part that I'm bad at. I won't save it on Google Drive. I'll just type it up on Google Drive. Oh, here we go. Let's see. I think this is it. Okay, so I'm gonna share my screen. This is one of the drafts that we came up with. Um, so you guys should be able to see it. So introduction, um, there is no chapter 2 because chapter 2 for me is a literature review. And at the time, my literature review was solid, so I didn't have to make any edits to it. But when it comes to like the introduction, as you can see, I go on order. Usually the ones that have numbers on them are ones that my advisor said. So like the summary of the research, background motivation, research objectives, expected contributions. But I go in later to then say background and motivation, well, what is vehicle safety and vehicle testing? What are objective rated metrics? And give the audience a summary. So I go in on the back end to make sure that these numbers are filled in with what I'm supposed to be writing about as well. The other thing too is when I do stuff like this, I don't say I just keep it to myself. I'll email it to my advisor because what they'll then do is see where I'm thinking and where my thoughts are headed to then either correct me or add in something else. Like, I see you mentioned this, like, make sure you talk about this, or here's, my thoughts on X, Y, and Z. I don't know what this is. So you may want to explain a little bit more detail, make sure you add a figure. Like, that's how the conversations go. And just as an aside, you want to make sure that because I'm able to talk to my advisors and just like I'm talking to you all with no problem, that's the type of advisor you kind of want, because things like a lot of advisors may not have necessarily the time to look at something like this, or they might not necessarily care. You want to make sure that your advisor is somebody that doesn't want to set you up to fail, because the date on here was April 4th. That was 2 days before I was supposed to propose my dissertation topic. I haven't proposed it yet because he was like, I don't feel comfortable in putting you in front of this audience that could easily fail you since it's looked at as an exam. So you want to make sure you have an advisor and an advising committee like that where they're really looking out for your best interest as a student, because I'm not gonna lie, I sat in some defenses and proposals to where the advisor is asking some of the hardest questions and didn't prepare their student, and they unfortunately fail. So yeah, this is really like because I'm comfortable with my committee, talking to them, not just about this, but like the things that are going on in my personal life too. I'm able to send them this and not feel some type of way when they send me back, like, oh, this may be trash. But that's how I really organize my thoughts. So everybody's on the same page.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so we have about 6 minutes and maybe like 4 more questions to go. So we're gonna do not rapid fire, but like semi-rapid fire.
Okay.
Someone says, anything else we should do, right? If class is starting a couple weeks, some kind of organizational steps, like absolutely critical for us to kind of get ourselves ready for the new school year.
I hate to be like a mom, but waking up on time. Start psyching yourself out to wake up on time for class, because like I've never experienced like the locking of the door or something, but you want to make sure you're there on time really to get the right material. You also want to make sure that you have a set routine for yourself in the morning. You're giving yourself enough time for that. And you want to know like the funding situation. If you are getting a stipend, you are getting paid, know the pay schedule, know if you're supposed to report to somebody, like know all of those things beforehand. So you're not just in the dark. And don't be afraid to reach out and email the people that are sending you this correspondence to. They'd rather you ask instead of just waiting around for something.
Yeah, I love this. I'm gonna one plus something from like literally at my first guest on Black in Grad School. Like, so this is episode like 10 or something. But that person whose name I'm drawing a blank on because that was 5 years ago, she would reach out about 2 weeks before classes started and ask for at least the reading list. And she would start reading. So she was 2 weeks ahead of her reading for her classes.
Yeah.
I was totally blown away. I'm also an engineer. They're typically not that organized. No shade if anyone ever watches this on YouTube. But, maybe for you all in the social sciences and humanities or not,
yeah,
you might have more luck.
Yeah, because no. Because one thing I noticed as an engineer is I had a coding class and there was no book because like we would just have YouTube video lectures from the professor, like he would upload them. And I was like, I'm still lost. So I purchased the book myself. So you're right. It's not like that. Engineer.
That benefit. But if that is helpful for you and applicable in your discipline and different school, that might be helpful. Okay, someone asked, what was the hardest part about taking notes via online classes, and how did you choose what was important to know? Ooh, good question.
That was very difficult because when I started online classes, I was taking a math class. So that was already a huge learning curve. And it just so happened to be my advisor's class. So that was a benefit, but also to my detriment because of the expectation. Because of online class and the platform, a lot of professors had to do PowerPoint presentations. So one thing that I will say about A&T is they literally said you have to have material. Like you can't just talk to the students, like you have to give them something to look at. So they had a separate training for professors to actually do engaging online lectures. So having it physically on the screen was helpful. So the one thing that I did, because I switched to physical notes since my computer was occupied, was, do I have it? I don't think I have that notebook in front of me. But one thing that I did was, since it's PowerPoint based, I would just put the slide number on the left and write the notes, because then on Blackboard or Canvas, I could easily see like, this is the slide that these notes corresponded to. So that's a very simple way for you to stay organized.
Thank you. And this is our last question, so this is perfect. So do you suggest a separate hard drive? I think you did earlier, but we just want to confirm.
Yeah, let me see. Yep, I did. And they're if you're funding, because my funding actually covered that because they looked at it as a piece of equipment. So if you are a fully funded student that is provided a laptop, like I said before, email the tech person that you're supposed to email and just ask for one. If not, I believe 1 terabyte now is like less than $50. So it is an investment. You don't, even though you may want a larger solid state drive, you still want something that's separate than your regular hard drive because things happen.
Yeah, totally agree. And I would just also say, like, even advisors have some funding sometimes, like
Hmm.
specifically for those at the PhD level. I came in with a busted computer. My advisor was like, I can't even watch you do this. We're going to get you another computer.
Hmm.
So just know you have options and it's okay to ask for what you need, right? Closed mouths don't get fed.
Hmm.
Well, that is the last of the questions. But before we end, I want you to know that there's some folks in the chat saying hashtag Aggie Pride. Same for me.
Okay, Aggie Pride.
Aggie Pride is so great to see
Aggie Pride.
Aggie doing amazing things, sharing amazing insights with us. And Katelyn, thank you so much. Like, I'm about to go clean out my downloads folder, which is from 20 to now. It's ridiculous. So I'm inspired. I'm invigorated. Someone else said that too. Like, they feel so invigorated for this upcoming semester and year. So thank you so much for supporting us and getting us ready for the new school year. It's a great way to end the summit. Thank you.
You're welcome. No problem. I'm glad to be here. And I have to shout out the fact that I went to Hampton for undergrad. So, you know, my Hampton friends get mad because they like, you went to A&T and got brand new. I'm like, no, no, no.
Hey, it's okay because we're amazing. Aggies are
Right.
amazing. But
Yeah,
pirates, it's
they're
not
cool.
it was Aggies do. So but y'all, that is a wrap on the 5th annual Grad School Success Summit, y'all. Thank you so much for coming and being a part. I hope that you all are motivated and excited for the new year. I can't wait to see you all through social media, be successful, and just really kill it. Thank you so much again. And I will be connecting with everyone via email with the replays next week. Have a great rest of your week. Stay productive, stay positive, stay invigorated, and I'll see everyone around. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.